What's good, sports fans? Are you ready to elevate your live entertainment experience? Well, let me introduce you to SeatGeek, an amazing platform that connects you to your favorite events while saving you money. With SeatGeek, you can easily find tickets for sports games, concerts, and so much more, all in one place. The interface is user-friendly, making it simple to browse and compare prices. And one of the best features is the interactive seating chart. You can see exactly where you'll be sitting and how much you'll be spending, ensuring you get the best value for your money. But here's the best part. Check this out. By using my promo code, ChalkItUpSports, you can enjoy a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. That's right, $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Imagine catching that thrilling game or concert without breaking the bank. It's a win-win situation. Plus, you'll be a part of a community of fans who eat, sleep, and breathe live events just as much as you do. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description to download the SeatGeek app today. And don't forget to use my promo code ChalkItUpSports for a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. Get excited. Now let's get back to the show. What's good, beautiful people? This is your guy, Tone DeShields II. You guys are locked in on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. As always, got to start the show with gratitude. I appreciate you guys for locking in on the content. You know what your job is. You know what your role is in this thing. Smash that like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the show. And on top of that, make sure you kick your feet up. Get yourself something to drink. You know what I mean? Get yourself something to snack on. Maybe some of you guys on your lunch break, whatever it may be. I appreciate you guys for locking in and just get real comfy. We're going to be here for about, 45 minutes to an hour. You guys know how we do this thing here. Sometimes we go over. It all depends on vibes. But for the most part, we try to keep things around an hour. Never want to try to overcook it. And I never want to try to undercook it as well. I want to give you guys a wholesome meal during this lunchtime period. And I appreciate you guys, again, for locking in on the content. Smash that like button and also make sure you guys are subscribed. You guys know what we do here. We cover your Philadelphia Eagles. And the Philadelphia Eagles have given us a lot to talk about, right? And they are currently 10-2 on the NFL season. That is beginning to come to an end. If I'm not mistaken, the Philadelphia Eagles, they have a grand total of 5 games left. 4 of those games are going to be home games. So all of you guys that are in Philly, that are going to be flying to Philly for the games, hey, make sure you guys have a good time, man. I know the vibes are going to be electric. But their only road game is in Washington, and I'm not really worried too much about that game. We'll see how it goes. But, again, I feel like, and I still feel this way, every team that we face is running into a buzzsaw. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are the most complete team in the NFL, the most balanced team in the NFL. I believe the Philadelphia Eagles have the most answers to anything that can be thrown at them in the NFL. Again, my opinion based on what I've seen. Some may call me biased. Some may say I'm crazy. Some may say I agree with everything you're saying, Tone. Doesn't really make much of a difference to me. I just want to give you guys some dope conversation and stimulate your mind, man. Just want to stimulate your mind. So let's do some shout outs real quick. Shout out to Philly 007, Chris Scott, Forrest Hill, Jay, Nina Alston, Ace Boogie, Humble Servant, Devontae, my man S. Blunt, KGK, what's going on? Jay, what's going on with you? I appreciate you guys for locking in on the content. Now, obviously, I know a lot of us were watching that Lions-Packers game last night because it had some ramifications as it relates to the Philadelphia Eagles, right? As it stands right now, the Philadelphia Eagles are the 2nd seed, and the Detroit Lions are the number 1 seed. Seattle, they're the 3rd seed. Atlanta's the 4th. Minnesota, the 5th. Green Bay, 6th. And Washington, 7th. And Tampa Bay, Arizona, the Rams, the 49ers, those are all teams who are, I guess, in the hunt. But regardless, I think we know this is a 2-team race as it pertains to the number 1 seed. It goes without saying. I know a lot of people want to look at Minnesota and say, hey, what about them? But it just does. It's something about Minnesota that I just can't get with. Maybe it's the Sam Darnold thing. I don't know. But I can't buy into Minnesota. I really can't buy into Minnesota at all. But Detroit has been, I believe, the 3rd team to secure their playoff spot. Detroit is guaranteed a playoff spot at this point. They're 12-1 to the Eagles 10-2, who will guarantee their playoff spot once they beat the brakes off the Carolina Panthers. And we're going to talk about that game as well. There have been a handful of teams who have been eliminated from playoff contention thus far. That includes the New England Patriots, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the New York Giants. And there are many teams who are on the way. And the Philadelphia Eagles, when they take care of business against the Panthers, they will likely knock the Panthers out of playoff contention. And obviously, we didn't expect them to make any sort of a run anyway. But the Panthers are playing a little bit better. Nonetheless, that game last night, we did expect a little bit more from the Green Bay Packers. I think the Green Bay Packers gave it their best shot. They did push the Lions to the brink. Some of my observations from last night, though, the Lions can be had. I've said that once before, and I stand by it. And the Green Bay Packers, their defense is awful. Just awful. The Lions, their defense is awful as well. Now, granted, they're dealing with a ton of injuries, right? A ton of them. And they could potentially get a handful of those people back over the course of the playoff run and over the course of the final 5-game stretch of the season. But I've watched both of those defenses, and I'm not impressed. The Philadelphia Eagles clearly have the best defense in NFL. I think the Chargers are up there as well, but I would take the Eagles defense over the Chargers defense because of their ability to handle the pass and the run. They're more balanced. I think their secondary is a little bit better. But regardless, though, I watched that game last night, and I'm saying to myself, wow, Green Bay, like, for one, Jordan Love missed a wide open guy in the back of the end zone. They had to settle for a field goal and tie the game up. I'm like, dog, come on, man. But their defense, that's what disappointed me the most from the Green Bay Packers. I'm looking at them, I'm saying to myself, damn, y'all can't get one stop. And I'm looking at what the Lions are doing. They're just running the ball and doing play action. You hardly saw Jared Goff in shotgun. You hardly saw Jared Goff just drop back. You saw them. He was doing play action primarily in that game, and the bulk of his production has come in the play action. So obviously they're heavily predicated on the run, like the Philadelphia Eagles are, of course. They're heavily predicated on their run game. And here's the difference, though. I look at it from the perspective of their run game is almost. I want to pick the right word here. The Lions' run game is one-dimensional. And here's what I mean when I say that. I know Lions fans are going to be upset. They're going to say, what do you mean? Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, the perfect 1-2 punch, Sonic and Knuckles. I understand that, and that's not what I'm talking about. When I say one-dimensional, I'm talking about the perspective of the numbers game, right? Jared Goff is not a threat to run the football 9 times out of 10. Now, did he have a moment when he ran yesterday? Sure, but for the most part, Jared Goff is not known to run the ball. And you're right, Lee. Good point, Lee. And screen passes, play action, and running the ball. But the reason I say their run game is one-dimensional is because you only have to worry about their running backs, not the quarterback and the running back. That's what I mean by that. If you just boil it down to their to their guys at running back, yeah, they're very dynamic at running back. Jahmyr Gibbs' skill set is very different from David Montgomery's. Very different, which makes their running game so potent. But the Eagles' running game, in my opinion, is better because they obviously have the better running back than Saquon Barkley, the most dynamic running back in the NFL right now, the best running back in the NFL right now. But also they have one of the more dynamic quarterbacks in the NFL when it comes to Jalen Hurts and his dual threat ability. The stress that Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley puts on a defensive line, the linebackers, the stress they put on defenses with that RPO, and you don't know who's going to have the ball because of how dominant Saquon has been. You want to commit to him. You know Saquon can take off. You know Saquon, all he needs is one play. That's how dominant he's been. Saquon can take off at any given moment, at any given play. That's how dominant he's been. So when you have a guy like that in the backfield and you pair that with a quarterback who is very much capable of breaking your back with his legs, that, in my opinion, is a multi-dimensional run game, a two-dimensional run game. Let's put it that way, right? The Lions, again, they have two dynamic running backs. They have two talented running backs with two very different skill sets. You have the power guy in Montgomery. You have the elusive pass catcher in Jahmyr Gibbs. But Jared Goff doesn't put any stress on you in the running game. And on top of that, let's just say the running game is struggling for the Lions. Who will Jared Goff be then? At least with the Eagles, if Saquon is struggling a bit, you still have that threat of Jalen Hurts running, which is something the defense has to account for and game plan for, which then will eventually open up lanes for Saquon Barkley. So again, I just look at it from the perspective of, if you stop that Lions running game, you stop their whole offense. I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that. If you keep Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery from hurting you or taking over a game, you can beat them, in my humble opinion. Because Jared Goff, so much of his production is in the play action. So much of his production is reliant on those two guys doing their job. I have a hard time believing Jared Goff will be able to take over a game or do anything dynamic outside of play action, which is reliant on the running game working. But the Eagles, on the other hand, they have the threat of Hurts running, Saquon Barkley, and then I didn't even get into the A.J. Brown effect, right? And then the offensive line. I think the Eagles have the best offensive line in football. I don't care what they say about the Lions offensive. I've watched them play. They're good. They're very good, actually. I think they're number 2. But I think the Eagles are better. I think the Eagles' offensive line poses more problems for your defense than the Lions' offensive line. I think the Eagles' offensive line is bigger. I think they're stronger. I think you can do more creative things with them. Every lineman on the Eagles' offensive line is a threat to pull. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. Am I saying the Lions are a bad team? Hell no. The Lions are a very good team. A team that has everything they need to win it all if they can get healthy again. But I watch them and I say to myself, they can be had. Especially with that defense. They can be had. They can be had. They can be had. That's just my opinion. I watched that game. They can be had. They can be had, in my humble opinion. But nonetheless, though, the Eagles had the Panthers. Excuse me, you guys. The Eagles have the Panthers. And I know a lot of us are saying to ourselves, hey, Tone, layup, finger roll, alley-oop. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people look at the Carolina Panthers and say, we're going to whoop their ass. And you're likely right. You're probably spot on. But with the way my brain works and the way my personality is constructed, I don't like to sleep on anybody. I don't like to take anybody lightly. I don't like to take anything for granted. I don't like to just assume things. right? Now, granted, the Philadelphia Eagles have given you, what is that, a 12-game sample size of who they are. The Panthers, they've given you, how many games have they played? They've given you a 12-game sample size of who they are. They are a 3-9 football team who happens to be, let's make sure I got this right here. The Carolina Panthers are 1-4 on the road and 2-5 in their conference. And they are on a 2-game losing streak, and they have a negative 149 point differential. They have been getting their asses beat. As a matter of fact, the Carolina Panthers have the worst point differential in the NFL with negative 149. The Panthers have been the worst team in football. The absolute worst team in football. They've been worse than the Patriots. They've been worse than the Saints. They've been worse than the Bears. I understand they had one more win than the Giants, but I feel like they've been worse than the Giants. They've been worse than the Raiders, if you ask me. But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. The bottom line is, this is the game that we fully expect the Eagles to win. And it's so funny. At this point in the season, I had the Philadelphia Eagles being 9-3. They're 10-2. So I'm not too far off, or I wasn't too far off. I made some predictions in May 16th to be exact. And at worst on the season, I had the Eagles going 11-6. And at best, I had them going 13-4. They have potential to finish better than that. And they probably will, all things considered. But at this point in the season, prior to week 14, I had the Eagles being 9-3. I had us beating Green Bay, which we did. I had us beating Atlanta, which we didn't. I had us beating New Orleans, which we did. I had us beating Tampa Bay, which we did not. That put us at 2-2, right? So already my predictions are a little screwed up. But then they made up ground. I had us beating Cleveland. I had us beating the New York Giants, which we did. I had us losing to Cincinnati, which we did not. I had us beating Jacksonville, which we did. I had us losing to Dallas the first time, which we did not. At that point, I had us at 7-2. I had us beating Washington, which we did. I had us beating the Rams, which we did. I had us losing to Baltimore, which we did not. That put us at 9-3. And I have us beating Carolina, beating Pittsburgh, which will put us at 11-3, and losing to Washington that second time, which puts us at 11-4, and then running the table, beating Dallas, and then beating the Giants, that puts us at 13-4. But things have changed. And on the season, the Philadelphia Eagles, as of right now, are 10-2, a great record at this point. And they have shocked me in regards to who they have beaten. I thought we would struggle a little bit more with those AFC North teams, and we happened to pretty much control those games. I expected more from Cincinnati, but they were nowhere near as good as I thought they would be. And I thought Baltimore would just be a tough task for a young defense. And this defense has proven that they're significantly better than I thought they would be at this point in the season. So, regardless, at this point, I had us at 9-3. We're 10-2, not too far off. I feel like I'm still in a good spot here with my predictions here. I just had us losing and winning against different people. But Carolina, that's gonna be an ass whooping. That's gonna be one of those games where, hey, Saquon, let's rest you halfway through the third quarter. Let me stop playing. We might rest Saquon in the fourth quarter. I want to get into the tell of the tape. Before we do so, make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed. I'm going to get to my man War. He gave us a super chat here, the $4.99 super chat. Thank you, War. He says, run heavy, play action with deep digs, or play action screen left, screen right. Like, damn, Green Bay couldn't stop it. They screened him to death. Yo, you're right. You're absolutely right. I was watching it, and I'm saying to myself, like, Green Bay, y'all not picking up on what's going on right now? And again, that's not me trying to act like the Lions are so easy to beat, but I just felt like, damn, they're doing the exact same thing on you. But then that's kind of what happens with the Eagles, though. They're so good, they're so dominant at what they do, they're just hard to stop. They're so talented, they're hard to stop. So again, I can't really nitpick what the Lions did on offense, but I'm definitely going to kill the Green Bay Packers. I'm like, yo, y'all can't get a stop. Y'all forced a turnover, sure. You know, that was a bad ball by Jared Goff, but I just expected more from their defense. I don't know. I expected more from Green Bay's defense. That's just me. Thank you for the super chat, War. So, yeah, let's get to the tail of the tape here. I'm going to bring up some numbers here for Carolina. Give me 1 second. In the meantime, you guys, make sure you smash that like button. All right, let's bring up some numbers here for Carolina because they have been and they've been really, really bad. They've been really, really bad. All right, let's bring this up. Here we go. So I know this is kind of small for a lot of you guys. Let me just zoom in on their offense, and then we'll get to their defense. Okay. So Carolina's offense. Carolina is averaging 18 points per game, 18.1 to be exact. That's 30th in the league. They're averaging 292.3 yards per game. That's 30th in the league. They're averaging 5 yards per play. That's 24th in the league. Their third down conversion percentage on offense is 34.23%. That's 27th in the league. Their fourth down conversion rate is 35%. That's 28th in the league. Their red zone scoring percentage is 54.29%. That's 17th in the league. So they're a mediocre red zone team. They're nowhere near the worst red zone team, but they're nowhere near the best. They're very average in the red zone. And they average just under 2 touchdowns a game, 1.9 to be exact. That's 28th in the league. So this team has a hard time finishing in the red zone. They have a hard time converting on third down, converting on fourth down, putting points up in general, getting yards and moving the ball. This team is just terrible situationally. The Carolina Panthers are a terrible football team, especially when it comes to situations. So when you think about it from that perspective, you say to yourself, well, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're a phenomenal team when it comes to situational football. They had the second best third down defense. They have a top 5 scoring defense. Opponents don't put up many points on them at all. They had the number 1 defense in terms of opponent yards per game. They have the number 4 red zone defense in the league. This is just a mismatch in every which way for the Carolina Panthers. A mismatch in every which way. So this might not be the most exciting week for us to look forward to. But again, I always say this. You do not want to take anyone lightly. Because now we're at that point in the season where the Panthers, at this point, guys are probably playing for contracts. Guys are probably playing for pride at this point. You know, Bryce Young is still trying to prove that he belongs in this league. I'm one of those people where I don't believe Bryce Young has ever really gotten a fair shot in this league. I firmly believe that. He has had no receivers, no tight end, no consistency at running back, no offensive line, terrible coaching, no defense. What do you want this 5'10" guy to do? Bryce Young is one of the smallest quarterbacks I've ever seen play in the league. Not just as far as stature, but just as far as just weight. Let me make sure I got this right here. How tall is Bryce Young and how much does he weigh? Let's find out. Bryce Young is 23 years old. He's 5'10". 5'10". He's 5'10" and weighs 204 pounds. Honestly, I think he weighs less than Smitty. I'm not buying the 200 pounds. Maybe he put on more weight in the offseason. And I'm sorry if there's any any glitches or any connection issues that we may be experiencing. Wi-Fi is a little lackluster right now. It should stabilize in a bit. But I look at Bryce Young and I'm like, yo, you have to insulate him a lot better than what you've done. You got to surround him with some big dudes. I think if you want the best out of Bryce Young, you got to get him some big offensive linemen, a big running back, some big receivers. You have to enlarge the game for him because he's so small. But someone may say, well, Tone, if the offensive linemen are too big, pause, then he may not be able to see past them. Well, damn. You can't have it your way every way. He needs guys that can protect him. Period. And he has not gotten that. And I feel bad for the kid. Because I met him in person. And I'm bigger than him. Seriously, I'm not even joking. Took a photo with him and everything. Bryce Young is a cool dude. He's chill, laid back. He's a cool dude. I ain't got nothing bad to say about that brother personally. Nothing bad. It's a cool brother. But I met him, and I'm like, damn. He looked like he in high school. That's how small in stature he was when I met him. Again, he's been in the league this second season. I'm sure he's put on some weight, but man, nonetheless, though, this is a poor matchup for the Carolina Panthers. They have nobody. I repeat, they have nobody that can handle Jalen Carter, that can handle a Jordan Davis or a Josh Sweat. They have nobody. I think Jalen Carter is going to go crazy in this game. All right, let's move on to their other metrics here. So we talked about their offense being very limited and them being very poor situationally. Let's get to their defense. So the Carolina Panthers defense. They're giving up 30.5 points per game. That's 32nd in the league. That's the worst scoring defense in the league. They're giving up 392.1 yards per game. That's 31st in the league. Second worst. So if you just stop there, they can't keep points off the board. They can't keep yards off the board. And they can't even put up points or put up yards themselves. Taking it a step further, their third down defense. The worst in the NFL. The worst. Their fourth down defense. Actually, pretty good. 11th in the league. Pretty good on fourth down. And their red zone defense, terrible. 25th in the league. Not the worst, but it's bad. Very bad. So, once again, I say, this is just a bad matchup. This is a bad matchup. This is a bad matchup, man. Bad matchup. Let's get into more details, though. Now, as far as their rushing yards goes, they're averaging 4.5 yards per rush. That's 11th in the league. That's pretty good. Chuba Hubbard is actually having a really good season. Miles Sanders has never lived up to the contract they gave him. I think he's on IR. I think he's done for the year. But Chuba Hubbard has been really good. I always felt like Chuba Hubbard had a bright future in this league. I liked him. But they're averaging 4.5 yards per rush. That's 11th in the league. They're averaging 23 rush attempts per game, 23.4. That's 25th in the league. And I think that's because they get down so early, they can't even lean on their running game. They're averaging 105.3 rushing yards per game. That's 24th in the league. Not the best. Again, because they can't play defense and they get down on the scorecard so fast, they can't even really lean in a running game because Chuba Hubbard has been good this year. The fact that he's been a top 5, top 6 rusher in the league and they really can't run the ball that much has been phenomenal. They can't run the ball. They can't consistently commit to the run game because they get down so quickly and they're so inconsistent situationally. They're terrible on first down. They're always in second and third and long situations. Their rushing defense, awful. Awful. They're giving up 4.8 yards per rush. That's 27th in the league. Teams are able to lean on them. They get ran on the most. They're giving up the most rushing yards, the most rush attempts, the damn near the most rushing touchdowns. They can't stop the run at all. At all. So again, you're going up against the number 1 rush offense and the 32nd, the worst rush defense. So the best run offense versus the worst run defense. How do you guys think that game is going to turn out? How do you guys think that game turns out? Let's be honest about this for a second. Saquon may break the record in that one game. He just may break Dickerson's rushing record in that one game. He just may. Who knows? And look, I'm being cheeky here, but look, and my man S. Blunt says they've been much better as of late, but they are who they are. They are who they are. I'm not buying it. Look, it's that time of the year when guys are trying to make that final push for a contract, and I'm not buying them as Blunt. I'm not buying it. But again, I'm not sleeping on them. I'm not sleeping on anybody, but it's just like you have the worst run defense, and you have to face the best running back and the best run offense and a top 10 quarterback in Jalen Hurts. You are running into a buzzsaw. You're running into a buzzsaw. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. If I'm the Eagles, I'm leaning on them heavy. I'm going to lean on them. I'm going to wear them down. I'm running the ball. Remember that Michigan game? Remember that Michigan game where I think they were they fined, or I think Harbaugh was suspended, right? And they got caught stealing signs and stuff. And I forgot who they played, but they didn't call a single pass play. They ran the ball every single time. They didn't pass the ball once, if I'm not mistaken. Does anybody remember that game for Michigan last year? I think it was last year. It was Harbaugh had been suspended, and they were trying to prove a point. and they just ran the ball the whole game. They just ran the ball. They didn't pass it or nothing, just to prove a point. I feel like this is one of those games where the Eagles can probably just run the ball this whole game. Like, let's be honest. They could probably run the ball. Yo, Warv, you're right. That was that Bills game, I think, right? It was the Patriots Bills. It was snowing really bad. I think it was Patriots Bills. But this could be one of those games where we just see Saquon Barkley, Kenny Gainwell, Will Shipley just go off. As Blunt says, yeah, but our wide receivers would be hot if we did something like that. Of course. Obviously, that's not going to happen. This is the NFL. But it's just funny when you think about it from that perspective. You think about it like, damn, the Eagles probably can win this game strictly off run plays. That's how bad that defense is, that Carolina defense is. Let's get to their passing defense and their passing offense. So here we are. Okay. Passing stats for Carolina. So their offense, right? Bryce Young completing 61.87% of his passes. That's 28th in the league. Not good at all. Yards per pass is 6 yards. That's 31st in the league. Passing yards per game, 187.1 is 29th. Interception thrown percentage, that's 3.03%. That's 29th, not good. Quarterback sack percentage, 5.04%. That's 5th in the league. That's awful. That's awful. They can't rely on their running game because they get down too early, and their passing game is inconsistent. Very much so. They turn the ball over. They get sacked a lot. Just not a good passing offense. Now their passing defense. Teams are completing 68.78% of their passes against the Carolina defense. That's 28th in the league. That's awful for the Panthers. Opponent pass play percentage, 49%, which is first in the league. So here's the thing. This is what this is telling me here. This is telling me that teams beat the brakes off of them so bad that they don't have to pass the ball. The Carolina defense gets the least amount of passes thrown on them because their run defense is that bad. Teams would much rather just run the ball on them because they're that bad. Or they get up so quickly, so early, with so many points that all they got to do is run the ball. And they're going to still move the chains. Opponent yards per pass, 7.5. That's 24th in the league. Opponent passes per game, 31.5. That's 11th in the league. Opponent pass yards per game, 225.3. That's 25th in the league. Opponent interceptions thrown percentage, 1.85%. That's 16th in the league. They're mediocre at forcing turnovers. And their sack percentage, 5.26%, 29th in the league. Their defense cannot get home. So they have no pass rush. They can't stop the run. They can't keep yards off the board. They can't keep points off the board. This game should be a layup. It should. Let me get to my man William Johnson super chat. Let me see. Shout out to my man William Johnson. Thank you, man, for the $20 super chat. Thank you, man. It means a lot. That means a lot. And for that, you earn yourself a wrench. Let's read this super chat here. Thank you, Will. William Johnson with the $20. He says, finally found you again, Tone, after I wondered where you went after Jacob. Keep speaking the truth, brother, and banging on them haters. Hey, William, thank you so much for the love. I appreciate the support. I'm so grateful that you've been able to find me, my friend. That means YouTube is doing their job. So thank you for supporting me. Thank you for following me as I build my own platform or get back to building my own platform. A lot of people forgot that I started building Chalk It Up Sports in 2020. And I was building it for a couple years, and then I took a shot with Jacob, and obviously it went how it went, and now I'm back on my grind. And I learned a valuable lesson. Never stop investing in yourself for someone else's goal, for someone else's dream, to build someone else's vision. Never sacrifice your vision for the sake of someone else's. And it's so funny. I always knew that. I was always taught that. But you get lost in the sauce. It happens. We're human. Regardless, though, William, thank you so much for supporting the show in a big way, man. $20 is no joke. Thank you. Delco Green. My man says, Tone, the Lions remind me of the Rams' greatest show on turf team. The Eagles would have beaten the Rams in the playoffs if Corral Buckhalter wouldn't have got hurt in the game. Wow, Corral Buckhalter. I haven't heard that name in a long time. He was pretty much the backup for Westbrook for a while. And I think Deuce Staley, right? Man, that's a good pull. I completely forgot about Corral Buckhalter. RJ says, better not sleep, man. I agree with you, brother. S. Blunt. He says, Tone, I studied that second seed, and it's not bad facing Washington in round 1, NFC West or NFC South champ in round 2, and either Lions, Green Bay, or Vikings in the NFC Championship. You know what, S. Blunt, you bring up a good point because outside of the conference championship game, the Eagles will have home games all through the playoffs, except for the NFC Championship if they get there. And that's also if the Lions get there too. So again, right, the second seed is not the worst place to be for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's really not. It's really not the worst place to be. Let's bring up the playoff picture, as a matter of fact, since my man S. Blunt brought up a very good point. Let's bring it up on screen. Okay. NFL standings playoff. Okay. Let's look at this. As we all know, 7 teams get into the playoffs. Now, in the first round, if everything holds true, if everything stays as it is, the Eagles would have the Commanders in the first round, which I feel like we would win that game. The Seahawks would have the Green Bay Packers in the first round. The Falcons would have the Vikings in the first round. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, Seattle beats Green Bay, which I don't think will happen. But no, I take that back. Let's say, for hypothetical sake, Eagles beat Washington, so they move forward. Green Bay beats Seattle, which I expect, and Minnesota beats Atlanta, which I expect. So then that leaves Lions, Eagles, Vikings, Packers. The Eagles would get the Vikings, which I believe they can beat them. The Lions would get the Packers, which I think would be a very exciting game. And I think the Lions could be on upset alert. And if the Eagles beat the Vikings, which I expect, they'll go to the NFC Championship game. Again, that's 2 home games in a row for the Eagles so far, through the wild card round and the divisional round. If the Lions beat Green Bay, Lions will obviously be home and the Eagles will be on the road. But if Green Bay happens to upset the Lions, then the Eagles will have a home game in the NFC Championship game. So again, like my man S. Blunt said, the second seed isn't really the worst place to be. It's really not. It's really not. Let's look at it from the Lions' perspective. The Lions get the bye, right? Let's say everything I said holds true, like I said. Eagles beat Washington. Green Bay and Minnesota beat Atlanta and Seattle, respectively. That means the Lions will have to face Green Bay in that divisional round. That's a tough divisional round matchup to open the playoffs with. It's tough. And let's just say, hypothetically speaking, again, Green Bay loses to Seattle and Minnesota beats the Falcons. Detroit will have to face the Vikings. The Eagles will get the layup against Seattle. So I feel like, for me, I believe that the Eagles, from a matchup perspective, I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles really can't lose in this. I feel like they really can't lose in this. All the pressure is going to be on Detroit. As a matter of fact, I'll be honest with you. Part of me doesn't even want the number one seed. Part of me. Obviously, the number one seed gets you that bye, right? You'll be able to rest. But I don't know. Part of me doesn't want that bye week. Part of me doesn't want it. Part of me wants Detroit to have all the pressure on them going to the playoffs. Let's see. Mr. Carter says there are some selfish folks in this chat. Love the content, but can't give it a thumbs up. So you're judging the content off of the live chat. Doesn't make much sense, but hey, do what you gotta do, brother. Let's see. As Blunt says, I like the second seed right now. No, I think you're right. As Blunt, you brought up a good point. I think you're right. The second seed isn't the worst place to be right now. Because you're going to get 2 home games. You're going to get 2 home games, guaranteed. And you still have a chance to get a home conference game if Green Bay can, if Detroit happens to slip against Green Bay. And even if it's not Green Bay per se that they slip against, they could slip against Minnesota. Regardless of how this goes down, Detroit is going to have a rivalry game in the divisional round. Got you, Mr. Carter. Got you, Mr. Carter. My bad, Mr. Carter. That's on me. My bad. I misinterpreted what you wrote. That's on me. My apologies, brother. It's all love. I concede. Let's see. Anthony Chops Crowback says, if we are locked into the second seed, we will probably rest week 18. That's a very, very good point. And that can be your bye week. Yo, 63 Morty says, Tone trigger happy. Yo, y'all know, sometimes I am. I ain't gonna lie. I'll be honest. You know, y'all watch my content. Y'all damn near know me. I can be trigger happy sometimes. Oh man. My wife says the same thing. My wife says, yo, you always trying to take somebody's head off. I know. I'm trying to be a better man. A more graceful man at that. But yeah, Anthony, you bring up a good point. If you're locked into the number 2 seed, I'm resting I'm resting week 18. I'm giving myself that bye week. That's my bye week. Let's see where we're at. We got over 200 people watching here. We only got 58 likes. Come on, y'all. Come on. Like I said, y'all got one job. And all you got to do is smash that like button and make sure you subscribe. That's all. The math not mathing. But regardless, though, I appreciate you guys for locking in on the content. You guys are tuned in to Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II. So, yeah, man, the playoff picture is going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating. But, again, I know people talk about that number 1 seed, right? I don't know, man. The number 1 seed doesn't look as sexy as they make it this year. The fact that Green Bay and Minnesota are the 5th and 6th seed is insane. And they have been having phenomenal seasons for the most part. The fact that Seattle and Atlanta are the number 3 and number 4 seed blows my damn mind. But that's the way it's structured. So again, at this point, for some reason, I like that number 2 seed. At least right now. I like that number 2. I like the way that spot is shaping up for us. I really, really do. As Blunt said, the reason is because the NFC North is stronger. Yeah, absolutely. They're strong. And the NFC South hasn't been as good as we thought it would be. Sean Johnson says probably play Washington in back-to-back weeks. We play Washington in what, week 16? Week 15, something like that? We played Washington week 16. So now it wouldn't be back-to-back weeks. Because we still got Dallas week 17 and we got the Giants in week 18. So it wouldn't be back-to-back weeks. Marley Trey, he says, we got an O-line that travels. I ain't scared of no damn Detroit, respectfully. No, I'm with you on that. I'm not scared of nobody. Warb says, yeah, if we lock up the 2nd seed, we can rest the last week. Yep, I'm with you on that. That can be your bye week. Sweet Chin Music says, the number 1 seed may not be decided until week 18. You're right about that. Because even though we needed the Lions to slip against the Green Bay Packers, and that made the road to the number 1 seed that much more improbable. Who's to say they don't lose to the Bills? Who's to say that they don't lose to a prideful San Fran team? Now, obviously, they don't have any running backs, but that Detroit defense can be had, like I said. So, how many games do the Lions have left? They have 4 games left. The Lions' remaining schedule here. Let's see what we got. The Lions' remaining schedule. Let's bring this up on screen. So, the Lions have Buffalo, Chicago, San Fran, and Minnesota left. 2 home games and 2 road games back to back. I look at this and I say to myself, based off what I've seen, they're probably going to beat Chicago. But honestly, that's the only guarantee I have. You know, I know San Fran has not been good this year. I know that. But they are very prideful. They are a very prideful football team. And it's Monday night. Detroit's going to be on the road. I'm not saying the Niners will beat them, but all I'm saying is that if the Niners can force a turnover or two, muddy the game up a little bit, who knows? Maybe San Fran wins on a walk-off field goal. You never know. I mean, they're very limited and they're hurt. No Christian McCaffrey. What's the other running? Who's that other running back they got? Let me see real quick. Let me go to the injury report. Injuries. What's that other running back they got? He's pretty good. Where is he? Jordan Mason. He's done. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they have a lot of injuries that are not going to be easy to overcome. And maybe it's wishful, and maybe, just maybe, it's wishful thinking. Maybe it's wishful thinking. I could, again, right? Maybe it's wishful thinking. But I look at the Buffalo game and I look at that Minnesota game and I say to myself, Detroit can slip there. They can slip there. But the Chicago game and the San Fran game, those are shots in the dark. Those are shots in the dark. A lot has to happen if San Fran and Chicago were going to steal those games. A lot has to happen. But Buffalo and Minnesota, I think those are games where Detroit's going to have to make sure they lock in for that one. Because Buffalo has a way better defense than Green Bay. Minnesota has a way better defense than Green Bay. I think Chicago has a better defense than Green Bay. I know some of y'all may think that's crazy, but I don't think so. I've watched both of those defense. I think Chicago has a better defense than Green Bay. I really, really do. So we'll see. Now, the Eagles remaining schedule filled with more layups than anything. Carolina, that should be a win. I think the Eagles beat Pittsburgh 2 home games back to back. I think the Eagles beat Pittsburgh. I think the Eagles beat Washington on the road. I think the Eagles beat Dallas at home. You know, Dallas, they've been winning a couple games here and there. You know, they've been trying to, reinstill or reinvigorate their organization with some wins. But, I just look at Carolina. I look at Dallas, New York, obviously. Those should be 3 wins right there. I look at Washington. I say to myself, young team, still figuring it out. That should be a win. I look at Pittsburgh and I say to myself, okay, I know Russell Wilson has them playing very well. Russell Wilson has had a resurgence. Russell Wilson may be a candidate for comeback player of the year, maybe. But I just look at this final 6-game stretch or 5-game stretch and I say to myself, the Eagles can run the table. The Eagles can run the table. That's my belief. And it starts with the Carolina Panthers. See, here's the thing. The Eagles have cemented themselves into their identity. They know exactly who they are. And they don't strike me as a team that's going to move off of that for anybody. And thank you guys for the super chats too. My man, Sweet Chin Music, with the $5 super chat. Thank you, my friend. He says, home or on the road, I think we can beat any team in the league. I just want the extra week of rest if we have to play the starters every game this season. I understand that. I feel you on that. If you got to play to the very end, obviously that bye week is helpful. But hypothetically speaking, if you get locked into the 2nd seed before week 18, if you go into week 18 and you know for a fact, no matter what happens, you're locked into the number 2 seed, I'm resting all my starters in that game. All of them. And that will be my manufactured bye week, if that makes sense. But Sweet Chin Music, I feel you, man. I feel you. But I also want to keep my guys, I want to keep that motor running hot, if that makes sense. Thank you for the super chat, Sweet Chin Music. Davon Tyree with the $9.99 super chat. Thank you, my man. I really do appreciate it. Let's see where we at with this. He says, what's up, Tone? I like the matchups with this playoff run, and the quarterbacks are not very intimidating. Maybe golf, but everybody else in mind, the real test is the AFC, which is a Super Bowl. Exactly, man. When you look at the quarterbacks on the NFC side, you say to yourself, okay, you say, all right, Jared Goff, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels. You know, no disrespect to anybody, but those are all quarterbacks Jalen Hurts, I believe, has beaten before. I've seen Jalen Hurts beat Kirk Cousins. Not this year, obviously, but I've seen him beat Kirk Cousins. He's beaten Jordan Love. He's beaten Jaden Daniels. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if Jalen Hurts has played Sam Darnold. I don't think he has. He's beaten Jared Goff twice, actually. So the quarterback gauntlet compared to the AFC, it's no comparison. The AFC has a real quarterback gauntlet in the playoffs. You have Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, C.J. Stroud, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Bo Nix, who's having a really, really good rookie campaign. It's funny. You look at the playoff picture for the AFC, and it's pretty clear who those playoff teams will be. I think Denver is. I think Denver and Baltimore and the Chargers and Houston, I think they're pretty much locked into their spots. Things can flip with the Chargers and Ravens and the Broncos for sure, but I think for sure they're going to be wild card teams. It's not going to change. Yeah, so again, the quarterback gauntlet in the NFC compared to the AFC, it's no comparison. It's no comparison. Thank you for the super chat, Devon. I appreciate it. Chaotic, my man, what's going on? He says, I just looked at the Bills schedule. I hope they win, but I don't see a signature win they've had this year other than the Chiefs. That's a pretty big win. But to your point, the Chiefs haven't been the Chiefs that we all know, right? So it's funny. I like the Eagles' chances against any team in the Super Bowl when we get there. That's how confident I am. I like the Eagles' defense chances against any quarterback. We've proven that we can handle any quarterback. We've faced the likes of Lamar Jackson and made him uncomfortable. We faced the likes of a Jordan Love and made him uncomfortable. We faced the likes of a Jaden Daniels and made him uncomfortable. You feel what I'm saying? We faced the likes of Joe Burrow and slowed him down. So the Philadelphia Eagles defense has seen a wide variety of quarterback styles throughout this season. You've seen the athletic guys and Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson and Jordan Love who can throw the pill as well, right? You've seen the 7-step drop back guys and Joe Burrow and Matthew Stafford, and you've been able to keep those guys under control. You feel what I'm saying? Like, the Eagles have seen a wide range of different quarterbacks, and I think they're prepared to face any one of them. And K-Order, yeah, yep, I know what you mean. I know what you meant. I definitely want the Bills to beat the Lions, obviously. We want that to happen. We definitely want that to happen. And thank you again for the back-to-back super chats, my man. I appreciate the donation. It means a lot. All right, here. Let me read a couple more comments, then we're going to get out of here. Fanny, what's going on? She says, our kryptonite is our self-inflicted penalties. I agree 100%. Some of those penalties like blow my mind sometimes, but also at the same time, some of those penalties, I just don't understand them. Some of them are clearly frivolous. It seems almost calculated by the refs. Like in that Rams game and that Raven, like they're like over the past few, you've heard it talked about on national television. Jalen Carter is getting held every play. He was held every play in that Ravens game, and they didn't call it one single time. I wouldn't be surprised if you see an overcorrection. Mr. Carter says, them Georgia boys on defense are already familiar with Bryce Young. He's food. I feel you on that. D-Mac says Jalen hasn't beaten Geno. That's it. And he's nothing scary. Yeah, I agree 100%, man. Unfortunately, we haven't had the luxury of playing Geno. Last year when we lost to the Seahawks, that was Drew Lock, which was an embarrassment. As Blunt says, we did beat Sam Darnold. Oh, yeah, he was with the Panthers. Wow. I forgot all about that. I completely forgot Sam Darnold used to play for the Panthers, and we beat them. That was Jalen Hurts' first year starting, too. That was 2021. Yeah, that was 2021. Yeah, I remember that game. I just saw a highlight, actually, of that. Jalen Hurts ran it in for the go-ahead touchdown to win the game. I remember that. Yeah. Damn. I forgot all about that, as Blunt. I forgot all about that. J Love says a late season loss will be good for our mental. I'm always nervous going into the postseason with no recent losses. I don't know if I buy into that, J Love. I get what you're implying, but I don't know if I buy into that. I want my team going into the playoffs with all the momentum and all the confidence in the world. I don't need anybody second guessing themselves in the playoffs. I don't need anybody thinking they need to make any drastic changes because of a late season loss. So no, I'm not buying that. I want my team to go into the playoffs with the most confidence in what they've been doing as much as they can have. He also says, I'm confident in us winning on the road, but I'd much rather have an NFC title game versus the Lions in Philly. I agree with you 100%. I definitely agree with that for sure. I definitely agree with that. Knight Rider, what's going on, OG? He says, what up, Tone? I still think we're getting the number one, bro. Detroit showed the world the crack in the armor. It's blood in the water. Either way, it's a go. It's birds in the foe. I like that. I like that, man. I like that. No, yeah, Detroit's defense is awful. They got a lot of injuries. Their defense is really, really, really compromised. Blaze says, I want us to run the table. And we make any away game look like it can be a home game. We win them regardless. Blaze, I'm with you, brother. I like our chances on the road. I really, really do. I feel you on that. Okay. Forrest Hill, he has an updated record when Jalen Hurts doesn't have a turnover. The Eagles or Jalen Hurts are 25-11-1 when he doesn't turn the ball over. Yeah. Jalen Hurts is you see, Jalen Hurts, for the most part, throughout his career, has been a very clean and efficient quarterback. He's been very clean. Last year was the year where he had that anomaly of a turnover season, but he's definitely written the ship. He's writing the ship. Fanny Eagles fan says Detroit's kryptonite is their corner, Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold is not, he's not anything special at all. I'm so glad the Philadelphia Eagles chose right with Quinyon Mitchell. I'm so glad they didn't overthink the process and that they didn't get too enamored with the fact that Terrion Arnold was at Alabama and Quinyon Mitchell was at Toledo. Fanny, you are so right. Like, Quinyon Mitchell is light years ahead of Terrion Arnold. Light years. I think Terrion Arnold leads the league in penalties for rookies, right? Or is it just in general? I can't remember. But Terrion Arnold gets pass interference penalties all the time. All the time. Q is a better tackler. It's more physical, more disciplined, more technically savvy. Like, he's just got more dog in. He's just a better player. I'm so glad the Eagles chose Quinyon Mitchell over Terrion Arnold. I know a lot of people kept saying, no, Terrion Arnold. I'm like, no, it's Quinyon Mitchell. It's Quinyon Mitchell. And what's going on? He says, credit to Detroit for having dudes off the street playing hard, but it's going to catch up to him eventually. I agree with you. And Dan Campbell was an idiot. He's an idiot. Like, I don't understand what he was thinking. Now, they won the game, but those decisions are going to bite you in the ass. I don't think I've seen Nick Sirianni make a decision like that. I'm just saying. Jay Love says, I said that because winning in the NFL is hard, Tone, and winning 9 straight, then going undefeated in the postseason, odds are lower because a loss is due. Again, I understand where you're coming from. Trust me, I understand your perspective. I just disagree a little bit. You know, I just disagree. But I hear you. I hear you. Sean Johnson says, we damn near the best travel fan base for sure. Yo, facts, bro. Forrest Hill says, other than parts of 2021 and 2023, he's been protective of the football. Yeah, look, in 2021, I think he had what, 9 interceptions, 8 interceptions. It's not bad. You know, for a football season, not bad at all. 2022, obviously, he didn't turn the ball over really at all. I think 2022, he only had a grand total of like 5 turnovers or like 6 turnovers. And then this year as well, he only has like 6 turnovers total. So, yeah, Jalen Hurts historically protects the ball. He historically protects the ball. Forrest Hill says, we lost the games in 2023 because we would turn the ball over and defense couldn't get a stop. Even without turnovers, we need defense to get stops. If offense stalls, defense does their job. And that's the difference between this year and last year. This defense is so good. They're able to force turnovers, get sacks. They're able to get teams off the field. They're a really good defense. Like, this defense is a playoff defense. This is the kind of defense that can win you a Super Bowl, because they're so dominant and they're so balanced and they're so fascinating on all 3 levels: D-line, linebacker, secondary. They're very athletic, very smart, very savvy on every level. And people forget Jordan Davis, Super Bowl experience. Nakobe Dean, Super Bowl experience. He was there for that. Who else? Darius Slay, Super Bowl experience. CJGJ, Super Bowl experience. Reed Blankenship, I believe he was on the roster at the time. Super Bowl experience. Josh Sweat, same thing. You feel what I'm saying? Obviously, the offense, Hurts, A.J. Brown, Smitty, Goddard, the offensive line. You got guys on this roster who've been there before. They know what to expect. And I think we're more prepared. I think we're more prepared to win it now than ever. And it's straight like that, you guys. We're going to call it a show. Thank you guys so much for locking in on the content. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Once again, we have had over 200 people in the live stream. We only got 99 likes. We got to go on the like spree, y'all. Before y'all go, please hit that like button. It's currency in this YouTube space. It really helps the show grow. It helps new people find the show as well. We're trying to build this thing. The only way it can grow is if you guys hit that like button, which helps the YouTube algorithms, right? When you guys hit the like button, YouTube then follows up and says, okay, people like this. I'm going to recommend this to a lot of different people so this can grow. So again, make sure you guys smash that like button on the way out, man. It really goes a long way in this YouTube space. And it would mean a lot to me, man. Thank you guys so much for showing love. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being present. And thank you guys for just being y'all and being engaging, man. I really enjoy talking to y'all. And it's straight like that. I've been your humble host, Tone DeShields II. You guys have been tuned into a Philadelphia Eagles edition of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game.